The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode. And now, here's Brandon.
Welcome back to the Old Space Show. I am Brandon Peters of the Brandon Peters Show, and with me is my co-captain Jim Dietz of the Brandon Peters Show and Nothing's On and HHWLG and the Walking Dead TV podcast.
Jeez Louise, how do I do so many things, Brandon? I have no idea. Is it because I'm old and spacious? I don't know.
Old, spacious.
I'm old and I take up a lot of space.
Party.
So there you go.
There you go. This installment of Old Space Show continues our episode-by-episode travelogue. That means we go one by one through an episode of a show through a second season of Space 1999, which means not the first, but the second season of the show Space 1999, where the moon is locked out of orbit, wandering through the outer space, the population of its human-built colony, hoping to stumble upon a new home. That's the overall synopsis of the show. Today, we're talking about the 7th episode, The Rules of Luton.
A grim fight for survival takes place between Koenig and Maya and 3 weird aliens on a planet of living plants.
All right, the director of this one is The Val Guest, and it's written by Fred Freiberger under a pseudonym. There's a lot of showrunner, can't write type. This happened a lot. They got away with stuff. Val Guest, he would direct 2 more episodes of Space 1999, a ton of movies in the 40s and 50s, including like Casino Royale. He did Hammer movies like The Quatermass Experiment and its sequel, The Abominable Snowman. He did the movie And the Band Played On, Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. He did that show for 9 episodes. One of his most famous is a non-credit as he turned down the offer to direct Dr. No, the original James Bond film. Jim, you got more on Val Guest?
He also wrote 79 different writing credits. Almost a lot of the movies you mentioned, he also wrote the screenplays for. Mm-hmm. So you just wanted to mention that.
Good old Val Guest is our guest director. Well, this one, we come back with the inconsistent Helena Russell captain's log. That
right.
Sometimes starts episodes, sometimes it doesn't. This one it does. So we open on a planet that it's a lush planet to see it might be a new sustainable home for the Alphans, one of those places. And as they approach, an alarm goes warning them of an oxygen leak. And Koenig says, Tony, you go back to Alpha with the Eagle, and Maya and I will stay and check out the planet. So
leave me here alone with the beautiful shapeshifter on the tropical paradise while you go back to the Eagle and fix the stuff.
Tell Helena I'll be okay.
Yeah, I'll be fine, Helena. No problem.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. My communicator seems not to be working.
So as Tony takes off, Maya's like, all right. She scans the vegetation and she's like, the berries here are edible. So Conan picks up one and eats it. And at the same time, Maya picks up a flower to just kind of look at it. And then once again, we get some screams. This is like the forest scene in Wizard of Oz. Like, yeah, picking apples off the trees, huh?
I almost think it's like what Shyamalan wanted to do in The Happening.
Right.
Like this whole episode made me think of that movie.
That's funny.
The killer plants and stuff.
The wind. But so it wouldn't be Space 99 if a random booming voice from out of nowhere would come and speak to them. And it does, calling them cannibals and murderers. And they're going to be punished as cannibals and murderers deserve to be punished. Koenig's not a plant. He didn't eat a plant. He'd be a carnivore and a murderer, wouldn't he? Like,
Are you going to mince words with a talking tree? An all-powerful cosmic talking tree?
That's true. That's true.
I'm not.
So, yeah.
Excuse me, sir. Allow me to correct your vocabulary, all-powerful one.
So they've been on this planet a couple seconds, and Maya and Koenig are killing the locals. Apparently, that's what they're doing. So this one, location shoot.
Yeah,
we are
like
outside. No studio, and it's one of those Koenig sidebar episodes.
I was going to say it looked like one of the same place where they shot the episode where they were in ancient Scotland.
Oh, yeah. Probably. It's probably outside the studio down the street. It's the Fox Forest of Space 1999, but of ITV. So this is one of those Koenig, how I mentioned the production was set to have a load of episodes that they could film them with Martin Landau. At the same time, they were filming ones with Barbara Bain. So, this is him and Catherine Schell, which, you get two of the three top billed leads. Carrying the entire episode.
And I'd like to say at least 25 to 30% of this episode is either attempted banter between Maya and Koenig or weirdly wistful backstory that has nothing to do with anything at all.
Yeah.
Like, it was just weird. It's like, it's only a flesh wound. I'll be okay. Just like, none of the, this show is full of attempted banter that just does not happen. So, and you got like three all-powerful cosmic entity trees, like yelling at them, "Kill or die!"
Yes, kill or die.
Kill or die. And Katie keeps trying to talk to you, "Kill or die!"
Right. So Koenig's like trying to contact Alpha, but you know what? They're blocked because they've killed members of the Society of Luton, and Koenig's like, "Hey man, anything we did was out of ignorance." So apparently murder, if you go somewhere and you don't know that murder's illegal, but you did it, you're like, "Well, I didn't know. I didn't know."
Besides, you could get a berry off of a plant without killing the plant.
Yeah. Well, and the trees are like, "Well, we heard that one before." And they bring these three other aliens who have claimed the same thing, and they're like, "All right, everybody fight to the death. Whoever wins can go home."
May I recite how I have the descriptions of them in my notes?
Oh, go for it. I'll tell you the official character names after you do that.
Okay. There's one that looks like a bug-eyed Wookiee.
Right.
Like a bug-eyed thrift store Wookiee is what I wrote.
Yes.
One of them looks like a drummer from a Danish death metal band with matter on his face. And the other one looks like a guy made entirely out of shredded burlap.
Yep. There you go. That's your guys.
Now, those are your guys.
So these criminals from space, in some way, kind of cheaply groovy, and I had that they look like bounty hunter reject designs from The Empire Strikes Back.
Yes.
Their official names, Jim: Alien Strong, Alien Transporter, and Alien Invisible as credited. So here, take that.
Right.
Yeah.
I know Alien Strong had a penchant for finding. There's more shiny styrofoam rock on this planet than I've seen since the Land of the Lost. Like, and they keep breaking off pieces of rock everywhere they go.
Right.
Like it's made out of like candy or styrofoam or something. This whole planet must be like falling apart.
It's interesting. I mean, they picked a nice, vegetative area and stuff. Like normally British science fiction, when they, maybe it's just my Doctor Who stuff, but they usually go to a rock quarry and they're like, "It's another planet. Here you go. It's a rock quarry." That's what they do a lot. This one also had in addition to having a bigger scale, it felt like it had a bigger score attached to it. Kind of felt like off from other episodes. I'm like, oh, they brought in the orchestra for this one.
There's a lot more bongos too in this one.
Yeah.
For tension, it was like,
yeah,
little bongo fury going on.
Yeah. So Conan, they learn quickly their stun guns don't work on these guys. They try to like run and put some distance. Maya's like, "Why don't we just talk to them?" Cora's like, "What? No."
Kenny keeps trying to yell at them, like when they find the river, like, hey, why are we fighting? We should be friends.
Right. Yeah, they're like ripping rocks apart and stuff. He's like, yo, hey. And yeah, but he only talks to them from like a place of like massive distance. And the strong alien's like, I'll throw a rock at you. And they're like, all right, screw this. And then on Alpha, they're like, we can't contact them. We just have to be a cutaway.
Oh my God.
We just have to be a cutaway for this episode right now. That's all we're doing.
But they keep cutting away to Tony, who's out in an Eagle where the planet should have been. Like, the planet has totally disappeared.
Yeah.
Like, they don't even see it on their screens and their monitors and nothing, right? So Tony takes the Eagle and goes out to where the planet should be.
Don't worry. We get updates from Yasko. Is that her name? I can't remember.
Yes.
Yeah.
We keep this happening. They cut back to him like 2 or 3 times. They're like, Tony, you have to come back. You're running out of fuel. Send somebody to refuel. Oh, I'm not leaving, Yeah. It's totally what Alan would have done in season 1.
It's to make this feel like a more full cast than the episode actually is or needs.
That would have totally been Alan's role if it had been season 1. I'm not leaving. I'm responsible for this.
That's true. But Tony is getting the big bucks, so they got to put him. So they swim across this river, and the aliens apparently they can't swim. So he tries to talk to him again, but it doesn't work. And the aliens they go to like figure out how to do it. And Koenig and Maya, they find like an animal skeleton that was killed by like the vegetation.
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So evidently they discover as the story, spoiler for 20 minutes into this thing, but this is where it starts, that the plants and the animals had a war on this planet, and the plants won.
Yeah.
And like all the animals are dead, skeletons destroyed by plants.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, how did the trees jump out at them? Did the bushes crawl on top of them?
They just did.
And then later we find out actually what happened with Maya. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
So
I'm just like, I still can't get my head around that one.
Right. And Conan's like, we haven't seen any animals on this planet. And so after failing to reach Alpha again, the Luton trees are like, yo, we gave some advantages to your aliens to because Maya can shapeshift, so they get powers too. Well, not realizing Koenig doesn't have it. So after failing to reach Alpha again, the Luton trees are like, yo, we gave some advantages to your aliens to because Maya can shapeshift, so they get powers too. Well, not realizing Koenig doesn't have any powers. So he's like, all right, you go search from the air as a bird. And then one of the aliens is like, I can now teleport across the river. And so Maya comes back. She turns into a lion to fend off the alien. And then he goes, and he falls into a river and drowns.
Yeah. Okay,
and Koenig and Maya start to talk to him too. Oh, he's drowning. Several things here. Yep.
First of all, dude can teleport, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think they even mentioned something with this, like, why didn't he just teleport out of the water? And they're like, I don't know.
Yeah. Script didn't want him to.
And all they did was knock him on his back into the water. Like, it wasn't even injured or bleeding or anything. It was just they just knocked him into the water.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
he's instantly dead.
So
boy, that's some fearsome alien foes they're fighting there. Yeah, and I think we should also mention that this whole plot is taken strictly from well, I mean, you mentioned it was in Lost in Space, but I know it from Star Trek. The episode with the Gorn, Kirk versus the Gorn, when you have the all-powerful, we must see how you fight to determine, which race not to destroy or whatever,
Yeah,
and I think that was under Freiberger's watch as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Or he just, he was up to speed and was like, well, that worked, because that's a classic episode with the Gorn. That's one of the most referenced. Yeah.
Keep writing it until he gets it right, I guess.
Yeah. So after trying to talk to the guy drowning, so Koenig's been injured, and she tries to clean the wound. And now they know two of the powers that the aliens have, strength, and one can transport. So the two aliens, like they make a boat log thing to cross the river. And Tony's like, I'm where Luton is, before it disappeared. And so Koenig and Maya, they continue to keep ahead of the aliens, tracking them, and find the former location of the final battle of plants versus animals.
Oh my God! How is this as dumb as it sounds to me? I'm sorry.
There's some silliness in it.
I mean, are there triffids? What's going on? Is there Swamp Thing? What's going on here? What did they fight them with? You know?
Yeah.
You're gonna throw rutabagas at them? I don't get it. It's like Plants vs. Zombies. I'm so confused, Brandon. Help me.
It's vines. They can strangle people or stuff and things. It's something that sounded interesting in concept, maybe more so than what ended up. But
yeah, I suppose so. And then next we find that these are the clumsiest aliens in the world as well.
Yeah, the director, gets the script. He's like, "You realize we have to visualize and share this, right?"
Filmmaking is at first a visual medium.
So Koenig's like making Ebola to use as a weapon.
What? And again,
like,
of all the stuff you could do, of all the weapons you could make,
I'm gonna trip him.
Ebola.
So
sure, Koenig. Okay.
Yeah, you mentioned this. You did. I think I liked where Koenig and Maya talked about their past, sharing stuff, giving something deeper to these characters that haven't really had much.
Yeah, but it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't I don't know. It didn't really offer any insight to either character. All it did was
gave us background on Earth, where Earth was. Yeah,
and it talked about Mentor that we met in the first episode of the season and stuff. Kind of filled in his backstory, and then Koenig had this whole thing about his wife who had died. Has he ever mentioned that on the show before?
But you know who she reminds him of? Elena.
This is back in 1987 when she died.
Right, but there's this whole story about this big war on Earth that he was apparently there for. So Earth,
World War III.
Yeah, the Earth we're involved in is freshly off of war and trying to redo itself. Cool. Yeah, it's. And she's like, why do people hate each other for their differences? So I think it's trying to be like, well, Maya came from this awful place, and it's like, well, maybe it wasn't as awful as places could be. I don't know. I just enjoyed they gave a little more than they typically ever do with these characters, so I was kind of appreciating it. That's where I was with that moment. But after that whole exchange, the tender exchange, so they hear a sound nearby, but they don't see anything. But they do see one of the stone weapons on the hillside, and Dakota's like, I think I figured it out. And they move back so he could finish his
after he figures it out. After, first of all, they show him turning invisible over and over and over on the hillside. Right. They show the exact same process shot over and over and over and over of the guy standing there and turning invisible. And then they show him walking, and they show a bush parting. And then so him standing there again, he turns invisible again. And then I'm like, where is he now? He was where he was before, and now he's. It was just funny.
It's like
an Ed Wood movie. How many times they use the same shot over and over?
He's like, I don't know what to do with this invisible thing, but we can try.
So yeah, and the way he dies is so lame. It's hilarious.
Oh yeah,
like Maya's a mastiff or something, barking at him, and he drops a rock on himself and falls off the mountain.
Yeah, they didn't say they were the smartest criminals. They just said they were criminals. Yeah, he stumbles, he falls to his death, and Koenig, he becomes delirious, and Maya flies off in search of water to clean his wound. But the strong guy, who has like a cage thing around himself, pulls it off.
Chicken wire corset. It was weird.
Yeah, and he catches her in that. Apparently she can't transform when she's in a cage and just bust it.
Also, I didn't know this until this episode. She can only stay in a form for 1 hour.
1 hour, yeah.
Have they mentioned that before and I missed it?
No.
Okay. I thought it was new.
It was introduced in
but for some
2.
reason, this guy who fronts the Danish heavy metal band already has like a corset made of chicken wire around his chest.
Yeah.
So all he does is take it off, and he's got a ready-made cage.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess function over fashion. I don't.
True.
Good thing his people wear chicken wire all the time.
Right. So Koenig hears the bird cry, and he's like, "Oh no!" And he mentions the 1 hour thing to the guy, and the alien
turns out he knew English the whole time.
Knew English the whole time, and Koenig's like, "I'm gonna go rescue her." Before she reverts, and he stumbles. The alien's like, "Ha ha 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 ha."
No, wait a minute. He also was carrying that big styrofoam rock with him the whole time.
Right.
Like for half the episode, he's got this cut in his shoulder. He's feverish. He's on the death's door or whatever. But he's carrying around this 3-foot tall rock. It's made out. It looks that's the chunks of the shiny styrofoam from Land of the Lost.
Right.
And when he comes at this guy, who's this big, bulking, super strong guy, he throws the rock at him.
Right.
And the guy's just like, whatever. And then he throws the bolo at him.
Right.
The guy immediately trips and hits his head on a rock.
Yes. Jim, you know what? What also happened this time? Tony was searching for the planet.
Oh, I know. He was doing this whole time. He wasn't stopped. So Koenig definitely rolled a natural 20 on that attack.
Yeah. Helena was like, "Hey, you're coming close to it," where it was. So yep, exciting stuff there from the B team of this episode. Yeah. But yeah, so he falls, hits his head, and like Koenig can like finish the dude off, and he's like, "No," and he's like, "They're says they are the criminals. They are the criminals for not stopping them before they ate the berries and picked the flowers." So it's like, yeah, you're the criminal for not stopping me before I killed that woman.
Right, exactly.
That's
it's your fault.
You didn't stop me before I robbed the place.
That's on you.
That's on you. You should have stopped me first.
The part I love though with Koenig is like he won't kill. Like all the plants are getting mad at the trees. Like it was like that Rush song with the rebellion with the plants and trees and stuff.
Yeah.
And all the plants are like, they show all these like grasses and like flowers kind of shaking a little bit and chirping, like this weird chirping special effect. Right. It was so bizarre. It's like, okay, are the plants yelling at them? What's going on?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. So,
oh, sorry.
No, you're fine.
Off. But there's like a rebellion of the plants. Like,
they're like, nope, they agree. They're like, that guy's right. Or something. And they're like, you know what? Yep, you can go. And the planet comes back, and Tony's like, whoa, I'm almost there. I'm on it. And he's like, I found it. And he's like, all right. Yasko's like, give us the position. And Tony lands, gets them, and they come back to Alpha. And Koenig sees a potted plant at Maya's workstation, and she's like, where'd that come from? She's like, Tony thought it might cheer her up after her ordeal. And Helena's like, says that they're lovely, and Maya offers her one. Koenig says he'll never pick a flower while he is around. Tony return them to hydroponics.
You've been struck by some attempted banter.
Boom, boom.
Once again, we try to make attempted banter about, that's a little too close for comfort, my friend.
Right.
Those plants, after all we've been through. Yeah. Boy. So, M. Night Shyamalan's The Happening was stolen from this episode, obviously.
It was, obviously. First of all. For sure. That's one of the guiding influences of the episode. There's Yeah, I think I liked this one more than you did. I don't
just
know.
thought it was hilarious.
It's goofy. Oh no, the criminal guys are hilarious. I like the chase aspect. I think I liked in concept this episode maybe a little more than the execution. It was a nice, just like a chase episode. It had two characters to focus on, tried to give us something more with the dialogue. And I really, this episode I realized like I'm really I'm liking Catherine Schell's Maya more, and I admire she's an actor, but I believe she came from being a model, and you know the fact that she will is game to come week to week, get made up like this, do crazy stuff is kind of cool. In my book, during a time where like I don't know many that would have the vanity of the industry and people that someone would have like decided to take on something like this. So I don't know. She became more interesting to me with this episode.
Yeah, I mean, I like her character and I like her portrayal or whatever. I'm just this episode, the whole thing about the killer plants kind of threw me off a little bit, I guess.
Yeah.
Especially the scene where like Maya as a bird is staying there on the ground and they show the stop motion vines like slowly coming up toward her to try to grab her.
Right.
It was just a little ludicrous for me. So it was fun though. It was fun and goofy and fine.
Yeah, definitely. It's a decent little show.
When it comes to sentient space plants, it was better than the giant space asparagus episode of Lost in Space. So.
Right. True. All right. Well, that will do it for another Moon Buggy adventure. In the meantime, Jim, what's going on over there with you?
Oh, well, you can join me every week on Nothing's On the podcast where we cover the week's worth of entertainment news in our humorous and knuckleheaded way with Donnie Salvo and Daryl Taylor. That's at the TaylorNetworkPodcast.com or anywhere fine podcasts are pervade. You can even say, hey, Alexa, play Nothing's On podcast. And guess what? She'll do it. Also, I know, right? HHWLOD.com is where you can find the Walking Dead TV podcast for covering Fear the Walking Dead, which is surprisingly enough become a very good show, and we've been happily following along with that. And the Walking Dead World Beyond as we count down toward the grand finale of the parent show there in about 3 or 4 months. So you can check that out at HHWLOD.com.
All right. Hashtag Squid Game 1999. And I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Brandon4KHD. Written work at WhySoBlue.com. There is more from the Brandon Peters Show this week. Maybe. Who knows? Maybe. But until then.
Alpha out.